Darkness was already closing in when they made it worse. I had just gotten home from the hospital, a panic attack that hit like a heart attack. My boss had let me go that morning after I missed too many shifts. My savings were gone. My lights were about to be cut off. I did something I hadn't done in years. I called my mom. I didn't even ask for much. Just help covering rent for 1 month. Just time to breathe. Just a moment of family. She let me speak. Then she exhaled, long and dramatic. "You're on your own now, Jasmine." I froze. She didn't stop there. She laughed. A tight, bitter laugh. "You're grown. You made your choices. We've helped enough." I could hear the TV in the background, the clink of her wine glass, the comfort of her peace, while mine was falling apart. I asked if Dad was there. She handed the phone to him without a word. "We won't waste another dollar on a failure," he said. Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "What happened?" Not, "Are you okay?" Just that. Then I heard Grandpa mutter in the background, loud enough for me to catch every syllable. "Some children just bring shame. Maybe she should have been more like Derek." That was it. The final stone thrown. The comparison I was raised under, now weaponized as a reason to leave me drowning. I didn't cry, didn't beg, didn't scream or defend myself. I just said, "Okay," and hung up. I turned off my phone, packed a backpack, and left the apartment that night with nothing but a hoodie, a laptop, and the quietest anger I've ever known. Not rage, not revenge, something colder. A promise I whispered into the dark. "You will never have another chance to throw me away." I stayed on my best friend's couch for the first month, got a gig washing dishes at a food truck, started teaching myself UX design late at night when the city was quiet and no one was watching. I didn't tell anyone, didn't post on social media, didn't update my family. I let them believe I disappeared, that I failed, because if that's what they needed to feel better, fine. Let them write their story. I was already building mine. In silence, in shadows, in power. My name is Jasmine, and from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Because when they said I was on my own, they were right. But they never imagined who I'd become with no one left to save me but me. And they definitely didn't expect that one day they'd come begging to the daughter they abandoned. I wasn't surprised when they cut me off. Not really. Because the truth is, I'd been disappearing in that house for years. Growing up, our family had a son. His name was Derek, my younger brother, the golden one. From the moment he could walk, they told him he was brilliant, gifted, destined for something great. From the moment I could walk, they told me to make room for him. Let Derek go first. Don't outshine your brother. Why can't you be more like him? Even my childhood report cards, straight A's, honor roll, art awards, were met with polite nods. Maybe a good job. But when Derek got a C+ in math, it was a family emergency. Tutors. Tears. Full-blown intervention. And yet, I loved him. That's the sickest part of it all. I loved my little brother. I defended him, covered for him when he wrecked Dad's car at 17, helped him study for his SATs, co-signed on his first apartment lease when he forgot to tell anyone his credit was trash. And through it all, I stayed quiet. Because that's what forgotten daughters do. We convince ourselves that being useful is the same as being loved. Even when I was working 2 jobs and taking night classes, I never asked for help. I didn't want to be a burden. Not like they said I was. But when I finally did fall, when anxiety turned to panic attacks, when I couldn't afford rent, when my job let me go, I thought, maybe now, maybe they'll show up. I was wrong. Instead, they took that moment, my lowest point, and used it to confirm what they had always believed. That I was the family failure. That I didn't matter. That the one who held them together in silence didn't deserve saving. It hurt, but it also freed me. Because I stopped pretending. Stopped hoping. Stopped trying to earn what should have been given freely. Love. Support. A place. They treated me like a ghost, so I let them live in the haunted house they built without me. And while they continued pouring all their money, energy, and worship into Derek's dream life, I was quietly building mine from rubble. That's the thing about exile. You can let it break you, or you can let it build you. And I chose the latter. I found a cheap therapist who met me at odd hours. I enrolled in a free coding bootcamp online. I learned how to design wireframes, build mobile prototypes, pitch myself to clients, all while working part-time and eating instant noodles. No applause, no support, but finally no comparison. And day by day, gig by gig, I felt myself coming back, not as their daughter, as my own person, one who didn't need their permission to exist, or their praise to matter. And the best part? They never even saw it coming. Because while they were busy polishing their golden son's future, they didn't notice the girl they threw away was becoming the one thing they'd never be able to replace. There's a strange kind of power in being invisible. Once you realize no one's watching, you stop performing. And that's exactly how I rebuilt my life. In silence. I started small, washing dishes at a 24-hour diner. It wasn't glamorous, but it gave me something steady, predictable, humble work, honest money. I spent my nights smelling like fryer oil, my fingertips raw from scrubbing pans. But in the early mornings, when the city was still quiet and the sky was just beginning to change color, I opened my laptop. I had a goal: learn enough UX design and front-end development to land my first client within 6 months. It didn't matter that I had no degree in tech. Didn't matter that I didn't have a fancy laptop. Didn't matter that I was still sleeping on a borrowed futon in my friend Asha's spare room. What mattered was, I was done waiting for rescue. I built a portfolio out of imaginary companies, made prototypes for non-existent apps, redesigned real websites just to prove I could. I posted my work on freelancer sites, offering discounts so low I almost hated myself, but I got my first client, a nutrition coach who needed a landing page. $75. 2 days of work. I cried when I got the payment confirmation. Not because of the money, because it was mine. Earned without begging, without shame. It was the beginning of something I never had before, self-worth that didn't depend on anyone else. A few months later, I landed a retainer gig with a small business owner. Then another. Then another. Word spread in quiet corners of the internet, not viral, not flashy. Just whispers. She's fast. She listens. She delivers. Eventually, I had enough to move out of Asha's place. I rented a small studio, nothing fancy, but it was mine. I painted the walls myself, bought a second-hand desk and a used espresso machine, lit a candle on the first night and whispered, "This is your second life. Make it better than the first." And I did. Within 2 years, I was running a small design agency from my apartment. Just me and 2 part-time freelancers I hired from the same forums I once begged for gigs on. I never posted pictures, never announced milestones, never let my family know what I was doing, because I didn't need applause. I needed peace. I kept my head down, stayed in my lane, built a reputation based on reliability and clean work. But every now and then, I checked their social media. Derek was still the golden boy. My parents still posted family dinners, birthday parties, all without me. Their captions full of praise for him. Our future, they called him. I didn't feel jealous. I felt free. Because I wasn't in those pictures for a reason. And that reason was the very thing that gave me room to rise. They pushed me out. And I used that space to build a life they'd never be able to access, no matter how much they knocked. And I didn't realize just how far I'd come, until the day their world fell apart. It started with a headline. I was on my 3rd client call of the day, sipping lukewarm coffee, finalizing a prototype, when a Slack message from my assistant popped up. "Hey, isn't this your brother?" She included a link. Local news. Nothing flashy. Just a stark, clinical headline. Tech consultant arrested for wire fraud, money laundering in ongoing federal investigation. My stomach dropped. I clicked it, and there it was. His name. Derek J. Mercer. My brother. Smiling in a blurry booking photo, like he didn't realize the world was already catching fire behind him. $1.4 million. That's what he was accused of embezzling from small tech startups, taking investments, over-promising results, and funneling the money through fake shell companies. The perfect son. The one they bet everything on. The one who replaced me. Fraud. Lying. Stealing from people who had trusted him. I sat back in my chair. Not shocked.
Stunned.
Not because he got caught. I always knew Derek was reckless. But because for once, the world was finally seeing the truth they refused to see. By nightfall, the story spread. 3 clients dropped him publicly. 2 startups he was consulting for issued press releases. A private Facebook group for local tech founders began sharing warning posts, screenshots, horror stories. And then came the avalanche. My phone lit up. Not with congratulations or celebration, but with messages from numbers I hadn't seen in years. My mom, my dad, my grandfather, all texting variations of the same line. Can we talk? We're going through something. We didn't know where else to turn. I didn't respond, because just 2 years earlier, I had been the shame of the family, the girl who wasted their money, the daughter who should have been more like Derek.
Now,
they needed me, because Derek's bail was set at $250,000. He had no income, no clean record, no fallback. And suddenly, the daughter they discarded looked like the only one with a functioning business, a clean name, and the kind of credibility they could use. Not love. Not celebrate. Use. I got an email the next morning. From my father. Subject line. Please. Inside, just one paragraph. You've always been strong. I know we haven't always been supportive, but we're family. And your brother is in trouble. If there's anything you can do to help with his situation, it would mean a lot. I reread it 3 times. Then I closed the email and deleted it. No anger, no satisfaction, just stillness. Because this wasn't victory. It was validation. I didn't want revenge. I didn't need revenge. They had already punished themselves by betting everything on a lie and turning their backs on the truth. The daughter they said was a disappointment was now the only one standing, and they were just beginning to understand what that meant. I didn't respond to my father's email, so they started calling. First Mom, then Grandpa, then
Derek.
He left a voicemail. His voice, the same arrogant tone I'd heard all my life, now cracked, shaken. Jazz, I messed up. I need you. They're saying I need a clean cosigner or a character witness.
Please.
I know I haven't always. Just call me back, okay?
I didn't. Not yet.
I wanted to remember how they treated me when I needed help. When I was drowning, barely breathing, and asked for just 1 month's rent. I remembered Mom's voice, clear as glass. You're on your own now. And now here they were, on the edge.
Desperate.
And I was the only rope. They started showing up everywhere. Mom emailed again, long, dramatic, begging. I was wrong. I said awful things. But you don't let family fall apart. You're better than this.
Please.
Just help us. That line. You're better than this. That's what manipulators say when their cruelty catches up to them. As if I owed them grace for the pain they delivered without blinking. As if being better meant letting them use me again. But I didn't respond. Because silence was the most honest language we'd ever spoken in that family. And I was finally fluent in it. Then came the flowers. They were left at my office. No card. Just a note scribbled on the back of a pharmacy receipt. We're sorry. Please forgive us. Your brother needs you. I laughed out loud when I read it. Because they didn't say I mattered. They said he needed me. Even now, I was just a tool to protect their prize. But that prize was rotting. Every day, more press emerged. Leaked texts, emails, statements from former clients. Derek's face became a symbol, not of brilliance, but of betrayal. And suddenly, my name was popping up too. Articles started noting. His sister Jasmine Mercer, a rising UX entrepreneur, has no known involvement. Even that stung them, because the world was drawing a line between us. And for once, I was on the side they couldn't touch. I got a call from a podcast that interviewed women in tech. They asked if I'd like to tell my story. I said yes. And at the end of that episode, I said, sometimes the people who bury you are the same ones who turn to you when their house burns down. But the truth is, if you didn't matter when they were safe, you don't owe them anything when they're falling. The clip went viral. And suddenly, their inboxes were as full as mine, but not with offers. With judgment. Is this the same daughter you shamed online? How's the golden boy now? Must hurt to watch the one you threw away shine. That week, I received one last email. From Derek. Just 2 words. I'm sorry. I sat with it for a moment. And then I did something I hadn't done in years. I wrote back. But not with what they wanted. They didn't call ahead. They just showed up. I was in my office, reviewing a wireframe with my team, when my receptionist buzzed me. Jasmine? There's a woman and 2 men downstairs. They say they're your family. Should I? I didn't answer right away. I just stared out the window, watching the city breathe, calm, distant mine. Then I said, don't let them up. But I'll come down. They were waiting in the lobby. My mother, in her best blouse, as if dressing the part could undo what she'd done. My father, standing stiff, like pride was a sickness he couldn't cure, even now. And Derek, wearing that same hollow look from the news photo, but this time, he looked smaller, almost real. I stepped into the space like I was walking onto a stage I built with my own hands, because I had. They turned when they saw me. My mother gasped softly. My father opened his mouth, then closed it. Derek didn't even lift his head. No one spoke.
So I did.
You wanted to see me? Say it. My mother stepped forward. We made a mistake. We should have been there. I was scared, Jasmine. I didn't know how bad it was. We thought. I held up my hand. You thought I'd disappear. And I did. But you didn't expect I'd build something better than what you gave me. She blinked. We were wrong. I turned to my father. Do you remember what you said to me the night you cut me off? He didn't speak. So I repeated it for him. You said, we won't waste another dollar on a failure. You didn't just cut me off. You cut me out. He looked at the floor. Derek stepped forward. I didn't know they did all that. I was caught up in my own mess. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I need help. I reached into my bag and pulled out a folder.
Thick. Crisp. Heavy.
I handed it to Derek. What's this? Everything you missed while you were busy being the golden child. Inside were screenshots of old texts, voicemails where they mocked me, a printed list of every time I helped the family financially, unreturned. And at the very back, the email I sent from the hospital, the day they told me I was on my own. I looked at all of them. You don't need a sister.
You need a lifeline.
And I'm not that anymore. My mother whispered, you're our daughter. I shook my head. I was. And when I needed you most, you didn't see a daughter. You saw an inconvenience. Derek opened the folder. Read the first page. His lips parted, just slightly. They looked frozen. Not from rage. From clarity. For the first time, they saw what they had done, all in one place. Black ink. White paper. No escape. I turned. You wanted a mirror? Here it is. Look at yourselves. And I walked away.
Past them.
Past their silence. Past the years I spent begging in my own mind for a moment like this. No more guilt. No more anger. Just peace. Because when they asked me to come back, all I had to offer was the truth. And that was far more than they ever gave me. The morning after the lobby visit, I woke up to dozens of messages. Friends. Clients. Strangers. They'd seen the podcast clip. The one where I said, if they didn't love you when you were quiet, broke, and bleeding, don't hand them your peace when you've healed. It had gone viral. Shared on TikTok, quoted on Instagram, stitched with stories from women across the world. Daughters, sisters, black sheep. People who had been erased.
Dismissed.
Told they were a burden. And now, they were holding the mic. That clip opened the door to something bigger, a TEDx invitation.
Not to talk about tech.
But about resilience. The title they gave it? The day I became my own family. I stood on stage in a blood-red suit and black heels, my quiet rebellion against every dress like a good girl command I grew up with. And I told the truth. I talked about how people only love you when you serve a function. How silence becomes survival. How we convince ourselves that staying small is the price of belonging. And I told them what I learned. Some people will only call you family when they need a scapegoat or a savior. And it's not your job to be either. The applause was deafening. After the talk, a girl about 20 hugged me so tightly, I thought I'd break. That was me, she whispered. Your whole story, that was me. That was the moment I realized. This was bigger than Derek. Bigger than my parents. Bigger than revenge. This was a revolution. I wasn't just rebuilding for myself anymore. I was giving others a blueprint. I launched a community called the Unchosen Daughters, a digital space where women who'd been pushed out could connect, heal, rebuild, rise. We provided mental health grants, career mentorship, legal aid for inheritance disputes, emergency housing for girls cast out by abusive families. Within 3 months, we had 18,000 members. And Derek? Still in jail. They tried one last time. His lawyer reached out, asking if I'd write a character letter for sentencing. They said my clean name, my successful image, could soften the judge's stance. I declined. Formally. Legally. Not with spite. With clarity. My brother does not belong to me, I wrote. I was not invited to his rise. I will not be enlisted in his fall. And I meant it, because they taught me that family is conditional. But I learned how to build one that wasn't. One woman at a time. They came one last time. I was at my foundation's downtown event, a quiet evening of mentorship matches, success stories, and donated laptops for girls starting their first freelance careers. I had just finished speaking when I saw them across the room, my mom, dad, and grandpa. Older.
Softer.
Not just humbled, hollow. They didn't try to cause a scene. They waited until the crowd faded and approached slowly, like people who had learned the hard way that I no longer owed them softness. My father spoke first. We watched your talk. We've read the stories. You've done well. My mother nodded. We just wanted to say we're proud. And we're sorry. Grandpa stepped forward last. We were wrong about you. We were wrong to let you go. That was the first time he'd ever said something like that. And for the first time in years, I looked at them and didn't feel rage. Or hurt. I felt distance.
Peace.
Like I was standing on the shore while they were still lost at sea. Then my mom said it. Your brother, they're saying he might get 10 years. Unless we can show he's part of a stable family support system. If you could just talk to the judge or sign something, you'd be saving him. And that was it.
The ask.
After everything, they still couldn't come without needing something. Still couldn't just love me without a transaction. I looked at them, really looked, and realized they hadn't come to make peace. They'd come to use me again. And this time, I was ready. I stepped closer.
Calm. Certain.
You told me I was on my own. They all froze. You told me I was a failure. That I brought shame. That I wasn't worth another dollar. You watched me drown and blamed me for the water. They didn't speak. So I kept going. Now you want me to save the son you worshipped while you erased your daughter. I paused. Then I leaned in, met their eyes one by one, and said, You're right. I was on my own. And so is he. Silence. Real, devastating silence. My mother blinked rapidly, lips parting. My father looked like he'd been punched. Grandpa closed his eyes. I turned and walked away. And this time they didn't follow. Because they knew. It was over. Later that night, I opened my laptop and typed the final words for my first book, a memoir that had already been picked up by a publisher. Title: On My Own, How I Became What They Tried to Bury. And the dedication? To every daughter they threw away. May your silence grow into a voice so loud, they can never pretend they didn't hear you. Because this story isn't just about what I survived. It's about what I built. Without them. In spite of them. Beyond them. They told me I was on my own. They were right. That's how I became untouchable.